it was so clear that it was time for me to move. Let me tell you. Holy Spirit, I was like, no, leave me alone. Leave me. You move in obedience, or you move. Yeah, like, hey, I negotiate. I feel like I want to cry. I'm sorry. When I tell you, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy you're back. Thank you for showing me love and support. I really, really appreciate. For those who are new here, my name is Julia Nyambura. I make content around business, entrepreneurship, money, and every day-to-day life, okay? So, according to the title that is below, experiencing depression after quitting my job. Yeah, I personally quit my job, and then I went into a depression. So let me give you a backstory, how I got to this place. Okay, so I was employed in one organization for 13 years. Okay, so come 2020, COVID happened, and so when COVID happened, a lot of people lost their job, but us, we were affected, but not that much. So I can't say that we went through a hard time during the COVID period, because I used to work in a healthcare sector, so we were not so much affected, but still there were some challenges, but not that much. So come 2021, I think I struggled with it since 2020. Going to 2021, I struggled with continuing to work where I was working at that time, because I had worked for one employer for all this time, a very good employer. I cannot complain about my employer or anything, like in terms of how much I was being paid. I was doing fine. Okay, so come 2021, just after people came out of COVID and people had lost their jobs and all that, for me, the Spirit of the Lord, when I tell you the Spirit of the Lord landed in my heart, and it was so clear that it was time for me to move. Let me tell you, that for me was the most difficult time in decision making in my life, because how do you want to resign when people are losing job right, left, and center? Like, you want to quit your job, not you've been sacked or there's a retrenchment going on. It is you out of your own will wanting to resign. So the Spirit has spoken to me. I have this clear message, or clear understanding, that it's my time to leave. But how do I leave when I've just gotten a baby? I think there was a salary increment during that time. I was in a good, my employer was amazing. The people I was working with were fantastic. You know, people leave employment because of probably the working environment is not good, the pay is not good, something makes you want to quit your job. I had none of those reasons. Like, I was in a good employment. I had friends where I was employed, so it was really hard for me to make this decision. But I prayed about it, and when I tell you I prayed about it, I was like, God, please go to someone else, not me. Like, one, I have never made such a decision, because since I started working, I only worked for this one employer. Like, I have never worked for anybody else. So this is totally new territory. I don't know how to leave one employment, go to another. I don't know how to even start. Like, I don't even know nothing about it. So for me to have this conviction in my heart that it was time for me to go, where was I going? To do what? Like, hey, when I tell you, there are decisions that you're forced to make that you did not even anticipate, like you have never anticipated in your life. So So I prayed about it. I really prayed about it. And when I tell you, I prayed about it, and I wrestled with the Holy Spirit. I was like, no, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Like, please go find someone else to do. Find someone else to do whatever that assignment that needs to be done. Because this is what I believe, that every time that God will always use people to accomplish His purpose or assignments on that. But I don't think it comes to. I think it comes to one person and deposits something in your heart. If you don't follow through, He goes to the next person, because His will has to be accomplished one way or another. So, and if you're stubborn, and if you're the one chosen to do that thing, if you refuse, then I think you're yanked out of your whatever area you are and placed in that area by force. So it's either you move in obedience, or you are moved by force. Like, one way or another, that thing has to happen. So when I tell you, I prayed about it, and then I asked God. I said, please give me a sign that this is something I should be doing. And the reason why I was so lost in my thoughts and in my in following through was because my baby was, by then, was, I think, a year. A year. My baby was a year and a few months, because I had her 2020 in February, so we are in 2021 January, and the voice of me leaving employment was so loud, like so loud. Every day I used to go to work, and I'm just, it's time for you to leave, it's time for you to leave. Where am I going? Like, where am I going? So that was January. So January, wrestling. February, I was like, no. March, the same thing. Like, it was March, April, May. So come May, end of May, beginning of June, I started having a discussion with the Holy Spirit. I said, fine, I'm convinced that I should leave this place, but give me until December for me to organize my finances, so that I just don't leave without having at least a certain amount of money saved, because I have a family. I had started a business, but I wasn't sure. I was sure it was not going to pay me the same amount of money that I was being paid where I was working. So I started negotiating with the Holy Spirit. I understand that I have to leave, but kindly give me until December to organize my finances, so that I'm able to be stable financially when I leave employment. Okay. And when I was leaving employment, I was shy of my salary. I was shy of 100,000. So it was just a few coins to 100K. So here I was, leaving my employment, being paid this amount of money, and I'm going where? To do what? Who is going to pay me this money? I have a family. I have a small child. Like, hey, I negotiated. I told the Holy Spirit, give me time. But I knew, something inside me told me, if you stay longer than you should, something will happen that will be out of your control. Like, my spirit was very clear. You leave now, or something will happen that will force you to leave this employment out of the blue. Something will just come up, or you'll be sacked, or something, or you'll make a big mistake that you've never done since you started working here. So that time we had a refreshment, days of refreshment in our church. So I told God, please show me a sign. Just show me something, because this is a very new territory for me. Just show me a sign that I need to leave, and like, just show me something. So we had a days of refreshment the whole of that week. In the month of June, in the mid of June, we had days of refreshment. My dates are not correct, but I think it was during that time. So come June, I am here negotiating with the Holy Spirit. I'm begging God to give me time. But at the same time, I know in my spirit, conviction in my spirit, it's time for me to go. So we had days of refreshment. So during that time, I was praying and asking God, I don't know what to do. Guide me, give me clarity, show me what I need to do, because people will think I've gone crazy. Like, how do you just leave employment and everything is going on well for you? Like, you're earning good money, you have good people working for, you're working with good people. You have to leave, you have to leave, you have to leave. So during the days of refreshment, I remember I asked God, I said, fine, please give me a sign, it's my time to leave, and when I should leave, because I don't have enough money saved up for me to be able to survive once I quit my job. So during the days of refreshment, we had a Pastor Julius Kula come to talk to us. And let me tell you, the message was for me from the beginning to the end. I feel like I want to cry. I'm sorry. When I tell you, this man was sent for me. Did not know I was gonna get emotional about that, but it's because I've always had people say that God spoke to me or the Holy Spirit visited me, but I didn't think like it was something that was ever going to happen to me. Like, how? I knew about God. I knew, but I was not like I'm fully speaking in tongues. I don't know, like in church Monday to Friday. Like, no, I wasn't in that. I was not at that level. So for someone to actually come and confirm something from message, from the word go to the last, like from the minute he started speaking to the end, I knew, Julia, you asked for it, here it is. So I remember it was on a Tuesday, on a Monday evening, and after I left the church, after the message, I just knew there was no time for you, there was no you taking up to the end of the year, there was no you organizing anything. It was time for you to leave. So I went ahead, and I think anyone who knew, I'm not a person who makes decision without coming planning. Like, I have to plan things have to make sense for me. And here I was doing a very impulsive decision from an outside perspective. Like, how do you just wake up and quit your job and just leave and without a plan? So I left my employment. End of that month. I knew if I talked about it or if I discussed it with anybody, it was gonna just delay what I already had started a business. It was still a very infant business, so I knew it was not going to pay me the amount of money that I was being paid. So I had to really restructure my life, and because I knew the money was not going to be enough to cater my expenses. But because I'm very frugal when it comes to just living. Like, I don't spend money if I'm not required to spend money. So I restructured my budget. I knew things might be a bit tough, but what I didn't mention is when the beginning of the year. So I think in March. So when the spirit was very convincing. Like, I was so convicted to understanding that no matter how much I tried to negotiate, there was no me getting out of this, or this assignment was mine. I was going to leave either way, even if I didn't know where I was going. It was very clear I had to leave. I decided that I was not going to touch my salary. Like, if I'm being paid, I was not going to touch the salary. I was going to start paying myself from the business what I thought was enough. And this is what I mean. So I was being paid shy of 100,000, and in my business there was no way I was going to be able to pay myself 100,000. Even if I was making 100,000, there was no way I was going to be paid 100,000 because I had to grow the business. So what I decided after calculating and looking at the whole picture, I knew the only amount of money I was able to pay myself out of my business was around 25,000 net take home. 25,000. So I was coming from up here to down here, you know, down here. But as long as I knew the food was taken care of, for me that was the most important thing. The rest we were going to just figure out, because again I had this discussion and I told God, if you let me leave employment, please do not embarrass me. Please do not embarrass me, because how are we going to survive? How are we going to pay just normal expenses? But there was also something in my heart that was saying, you're going to be fine. Like, you're going to be fine. Like, assuming you were just sacked or you're retrenched, what will have happened? Leave alone this one. You're thinking, okay, I can get 25,000. What if you didn't have a business and you're retrenched? You will still have to figure out how to survive. So you'll figure out how to survive even now. So that's what happened, and I decided I'm gonna put more work here and see if I can increase my income so that I'm able to be paid more to take care of my expenses. So as the topic suggests, when I left employment, I went into a dark, very, very dark space. I have never experienced depression in that level. Like, when I tell you guys, I could not leave my house. I did not open my windows. I used to wake up, prepare the rest of the kids to go to school, and then because I had this other one who was like 1 year, 1.5, or 1 and few months, like 1.5 years, we used to sleep until I think noon. Like, I was in a very, very dark space for like 6 months. I grieved for something I did not understand. Like, I felt so sad. Like, this sadness just came over me. I felt so unmotivated, so defeated, so I can't even explain that feeling. Like, it was a very bad, very, very bad feeling. At first I didn't understand. I'm the one who resigned. No one like retrenched. No one sacked me. So why am I feeling all these feelings? Why am I all of a sudden feeling depressed and sad and unmotivated? It was my decision. It was not something like out of the blues. I had this feeling all along. I knew this was coming, but I still felt so sad. So, and hey, like, you guys, I'm telling you. So I decided, let me read something about, like, let me understand, what is this happening? What is happening with me? Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? And then I could not share these feelings, because how do you go telling people I feel like I'm in a depression when you are the one who left your employment? Like, why would you, like, how do people even understand you that you quit your job to go into depression? Like, make it make sense. You made this decision to do this thing and then go into depression. How? So I remember it was very difficult. I didn't talk to anybody about it because I knew no one was going to understand. Everybody was, first, number one, you leave people in confusion. Why did you make this decision? And then now here you are trying to say you're in a depression state, in a depressive state. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I started reading about it, and reading, and I'm trying to understand what this thing means. So I came across something that says, even when it was your choice, you are still going to grieve about it. Like, you had so it made a lot of sense. I had worked for this employer for 13 good years. There's a life I had created around that organization. There are people I had worked with for so long. There's a system and a way of doing things that I had adapted in my life. So leaving all those things behind meant loss. It meant like I was losing something. So me losing me deciding to leave employment does not mean I completely detach myself from what I knew, what my mind knew. Meant you have to grieve. You have to grieve for what you used to know, and then adapt a new way of living. So because it was a loss, either way, one or another, if you want to take it as okay, fine, but you attached to so many things. You attached to the way you used to do things. So I grieved it for so long. I remember, so that was in the mid of the year. I think June, end of June. I grieved until end of December or mid-November. And the reason why I sort of came out of that depressive state is because I had something happened. My sister got a child, and because me and her are very close, I had to go and see her in the hospital. When I tell you, for those 6 months, I never left my house. I never talked to anybody. I never did anything. That was the first time she called me. She said, I got a baby. Are you coming to see me? Let me tell you, the level of anxiety, panic attack, because now I knew there was no escaping. I had to go and see her. And going to see her meant I had to leave my house to go and see her. When I had not left my house for like 6 months. These things, like, I can't even explain. So that is how I was forced to leave my house. And I struggled with it. I really struggled with that moment. I remember I actually took a taxi from my house to the hospital, and I paid for that guy to wait for me to see her, and then for him to take me back to my house. Like there was no way I was going to leave the hospital then look for another taxi. Like, you guys, like I can't even explain that time, that period of my time. But you might ask why I'm sharing this. It's because I realized most people, when they leave their jobs, or when they quit their job, or when they are sacked, they go into this depressive state that you can't talk to people about it. Like, it's so hard to talk about it. Like, I resigned and now I'm here depressed, or I'm going through this. And I remember I talked to a friend of mine, and we were saying, like, I wish people talk about how anytime you leave something, you will grieve that thing. Like, anytime you leave a relationship, you will grieve. Anytime you leave a job, you are going to grieve. Anytime you lose a business, you are going to grieve about it. And it's okay for you to grieve. And it's okay for you to take as much time as you need for you to grieve that thing, because it is a loss. I don't know why people think a loss is only when you lose someone, like lose a loved one. Even this one is a loss. Detaching yourself from that, or removing yourself from what you used to know to something else, is a loss. So give yourself grace to grieve it. Like, if you need to cry about it, cry about it. If you need to like go through the emotions of it, go through the emotions of it, because no one will understand except you, who is feeling all these emotions, and you feel like it is so wrong for you to share them, or you're going to be punished for feeling the way you're feeling. I felt guilty for feeling the way I was feeling. I felt like, Julia, snap out of it. What is the problem? Like, snap out of it. Like, I was so hard on myself. Knowing what I know right now, I wish I gave myself time to just go through it. Like, go through the emotions, feel what you need to feel, cry if you need to cry, and know that a time will come when you will not have these feelings again. So my word for today is that it's okay to feel and to grieve what you need to grieve. And it's okay to give yourself grace when you're going through depression. And it's okay to reach out to someone and talk about it. Because when I called that friend of mine, we laughed about it. We were like, even you're feeling the same thing. Yeah. Like, even you went through the same period, because even her, she had resigned. So even her, she was going through the same. So we were like, I wish we talked about it, because it's not just you who is feeling that. There's someone else who is feeling the same thing you're feeling. But because if you sit with yourself, you think you're the only person who's going through that. So reach out to people, call people, and tell, I feel, this is how I feel. And your emotions and your feelings are valid. Let no one tell you otherwise. They are valid. You need to feel what you need to feel without feeling sad or angry or guilty for feeling those feelings. Okay? So these are some of the things that I learned, or some of the takeaway that I learned when I was going through that depressive state after quitting my job. Number one, your personal journey is your personal journey. Believe me. Like, the Holy Spirit only comes to you. He does not come to your mother. He will not come to your father. He will not come to your loved one and tell them, hi, your sister is going to resign, or your sister is going to do this. No, this is going to be your personal journey. So accept it is your personal journey, that no one will understand why you're going through, or why you're doing what you're doing, or why you're starting this thing, or why you're moving, or why you, like, whatever thing you're doing, and you know people are going to sort of judge you for it. Believe me, it's your personal journey, so it is, no one will understand it. Okay. Number two, obedient is the hardest thing. Like, now I understand why in the Bible Jonah really had a struggle of really obeying what the Lord had for him, or the assignment that the Lord had for him. I understand, like, it's not easy for you to do what God or what the Holy Spirit deposits in your heart like that. You're going to struggle, you're going to fight it, you're going to negotiate. It's not easy to be obedient, but there is a reward for being obedient. Like, if you follow through, and if you follow what your assignment is, or what you need to do, there's a reward waiting for you. And also, the lesson I learned, I wish I saw a therapy immediately or before I resigned, because there are some things you can do on your own, and there are things that you need someone to help you with. I wish I saw a therapy just to understand my feelings and understand why I'm feeling like the way I'm feeling. Like, this person will have helped me navigate my life during that season, and probably make it a bit palatable and a bit easy for me. Okay, so if you're going through that, please see a therapist, or see a profession who can help you, or someone who can help you, hold your hand to help you carry through in that season of your life. Okay. Number four, it is learn to be self-aware and self-acceptance. Like, I felt like the minute you become self-aware of who you are, it is so easy for you to accept yourself. You know, like, if you're aware of, like, if you understand yourself, you will accept yourself, and you will not care about what people say, because then you're able to follow through with what you need to do. I hope it makes sense. Like, for me, it makes sense. So number five, you have to trust in the one who created you. You know, I believe personally that I have the best interest at heart for my kids. Like, when I tell them, don't do this, don't go there, please do this, please don't do this, it's because I have the best interest at heart for them, and I know what will be beneficial for them and what will harm them. So I trust now that if I'm told to do something, that the Lord has the best interest at heart for me, that He's not telling me to do this thing to punish me, or to make me suffer, or to expose me in front of people so that he can laugh at me, or say, you see, this is what is going to happen to you. No, I feel because He has the best interest at heart, He knows He's got my back. And if He has got my back, regardless of what is going on in my life during that time, everything will be okay, even when it does not make sense. When I tell you, like, I understand, even if it doesn't make sense, just do it. Even when you cannot see a step ahead, just take the first step. Because even if you had a sort of a picture in your mind, like, if I do this, this is going to happen, you do not know the extent at which, or the extent at which of the plan, the grand plan that He has for you. You have no idea of, like, what is in store, or His grand master piece or master plan for you. So you don't have to, because even if you say there and say, I'm gonna learn everything I need to learn before I do this, how do you know the plans or his master plan? It makes sense. Like, you don't have even an idea of his master plan. So you have to just start, make the first step of whatever. And when I say this, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying for you to quit your job or for you. I'm saying in whatever way, that thing that you've been struggling with, your only thing to do is to make the first step, a leap of faith of, I'm just gonna do this, and then the rest is not up to me. The rest is to trust in the person who created me, that he has the best interest at heart for me, and that his plans are good for me. That's it. That's all you have to understand for yourself. So whatever thing you're struggling with, I hope you find clarity of thoughts, and that you trust in who that is within yourself. Like, you see, like, he that is within you, yeah, he that is within you to do good for you. You understand? Like, in whatever way, in whatever thing. Because again, I also came to learn another lesson is, God brings something into your life as a spring of water. Like, he brought that job into my life as a spring of fresh water. And when my time is up, it means the spring, that spring that was bringing fresh water may start being stagnant. And when water is stagnant, it starts forming it starts becoming greenish, and it starts harboring all sorts of manners of things that are not healthy for you. And I feel this is why, for my analogy or for my assessment, that is why when you stay longer in a place that you are supposed to have left, you start becoming angry, you start becoming bitter, you start becoming sick. Because all of a sudden, that thing that was bringing for you fresh water start being toxic for you. It's no longer now serving you, it's actually becoming a disservice for yourself, or to yourself, or it becomes a harmful thing to your body. And I think this is why, when it's time for you to leave, just leave a place before it becomes toxic. That thing that used to bring for you joy start bringing for you sickness and diseases and anger and bitterness, instead of bringing what it should be bringing to you. Okay? So, and this is just my thoughts around this topic, by the way. And I completely empathize with people who are struggling mentally, in whatever decision they have to make, and it's a very sad place to be in. And because I have been there, and I know how it's hard for you to really pull yourself out of that hole. I see you. Honestly, I see you, I feel you, and I hope you find something, a light, to just sort of yank yourself out of that situation, so that you don't stay longer, because it's so easy to slip into a depression, and it's really, really hard to get yourself out. So during this time, I hope you reach out to someone and talk about it. I hope you find a light in your situation. I hope you trust in who created you, that he will take care of you no matter what happens. Okay? So I hope this one really helps you, if it only helps one person, and if it only helps that one person who is really struggling right now.